This morning, we're going to talk about the sentiment of UK businesses operating here in Manila. Joining us all the way live from Portugal, I believe, is Chris Nelson, of course, the head of the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Hi, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning, Mimi, and good morning to all your viewers in the Philippines.
Okay, so I guess let's start with that, the sentiment. Confidence is clearly still very fragile. What's the general feeling about the Philippine economy and where we're going? I mean, do the CEOs of UK companies here in Manila think we're headed up, or do they think we're staying here in this slump longer than initially planned?
No, look, I think if I make a few points, first of all, obviously referring to the BSP recent survey actually showed an improvement in confidence. I think, of course, everybody, and I think that's quite clear, wants to not return back to ECQ or the enhanced quarantine. We're now on MECQ. And of course, the key for British businesses, along with everybody, is moving forward and that we can obviously then move back to GCQ or general quarantine and obviously go forward. A lot of this, I would say, if I may, and I would just link it to your last report, of course, is also going to be on the rollout of vaccines. And let's not forget one of our key members, of course, is AstraZeneca. And the way it's worked in the UK is, of course, a massive rollout, and that's also linked to confidence. And that was referenced, of course, also in Governor Jokno's report. So I would say, of course, it wasn't good, and I think everyone was clear that we didn't want to go back to ECQ. Now we've managed to move to the next stage, and we have to work hand in hand, as we do with the Department of Trade and Investment. But the key is how can we work together, get that vaccine, and of course, keep our health protocols. So I'd say British companies are still always optimistic on the longer term, but that has to be linked to how we can roll out vaccines and get also confidence back into everybody.
Okay, the government's still looking at growing 6.5 to 7.5% this year. Do you think that's too optimistic? I mean, you know, considering consensus from economists that hitting even just 5% could be slim. I mean, break this down for us, what you think in terms of the investment side from your investors and the consumer side, the Filipinos.
Yeah, so look, I think even Secretary Dominguez said in his last note that with the recent move back, you'll be down to, he can see an impact of 0.5 or 1%. I think also that was made a reference to by BSP. So I think, yes, 6.5 to 7, it's more likely to be 6%. I think the key that you referenced was, of course, consumers. I think consumer confidence is very important. There was an uptick, but of course we have to see what happened. I again would link it back to how we can keep protocols plus vaccines. And in that respect, I would again comment on the initiatives of the private sector. Project Hope of Dose by, obviously we work with Joey Conception, and that's very important. On the investing side, I'd like to stress longer term issues, and that is the passage of economic liberalization laws. This is the time to really push forward, and let's get the Retail Trade Act passed. Let's get the Foreign Service Act and the Public Service Act. They've passed CREATE, and I say that now because I think this is what we can show and herald to British investors, which is what we try to do all the time.
Chris, let's get to the details on that. Are there any new UK companies putting their money on the table since the last time we spoke? Could you give us some names or at least industries?
Well, it'd be very nice. I can't give you specific names, but I can give you on the industry. Well, like you say, we've had more inquiries in the last month to 6 weeks than we've had for a while. And it's actually, first of all, it's on food and drink. And let me talk about one specific sector, that is the meat industry. Obviously, inflation in the Philippines, it was highlighted as about 4.5%. That was actually driven, of course, by pork. And obviously, there is a 1-year move to allow pork imports. And there, the British industry, we have a significant interest. We also have interest in the machinery sector. We also have on terms of safety and security, because obviously coronavirus has made changes in the workplace, and we're working with a company on that. So I would say a lot of interest. I can't give you the definitive figures yet, but the key is for us to keep heralding these opportunities and to be candid with you, to also outline the long-term prospects.
Mm-hmm. Chris, I want to ask more about that, the meat industry, what UK companies can do to help ease the price pressure on pork, for example. Is there a UK company looking to export meat products to the Philippines?
Yes, there are. So what we do actually is, first of all, there is actually an agricultural and horticultural board in the UK, which acts, if you like, to liaise with the meat producers, right? Mm-hmm. And actually, in fact, there is a good sync. Let me stress immediately, I'm not an expert in meat completely. I try to be. And I think what the British consumer likes is actually the opposite towards what the Filipino consumer. So there's a good mix in terms of opportunities. So we see a great opportunity there. We understand, obviously, it's a 12-month, and there are obviously concerns. And of course, we know that the hog industry has been badly affected by the African swine flu. So yes, clearly we're working with those. They will liaise with the companies. We understand, obviously, it's a 12-month period, as announced, obviously, by the Secretary of Agriculture, Dar. So we see that as an opportunity to assist and to also bring down those prices.
Okay, and finally, I know that you have a virtual trade mission happening this May. What is going to be the focus of that mission? Because I know the last time was about manufacturing. Yeah. So what would this mission happening in May be all about?
I think the key focus would be on our key core sectors that we work with the Department of International Trade. We have a partnership that's just been extended again for this year. So that's obviously good news for us and working with that. Particularly focused on food and drink and retail. Mm-hmm. And again, that's why I can only emphasize, if we can see that retail trade law passed, that will be an even greater boost and attractive to investment. So good opportunities. And again, we see good long term. And we work, of course, with the Secretary Lopez, Trade and Investment. And we did also back then Make It Happen manufacturing. And we will also be supporting that going forward.
Okay, it looks like you're going to be very busy, even though you're far away. It's like you're here. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
You too, and good day to all your viewers as well.
Take care. Take care, Chris.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, before we go, for those who tried to guess our blind item, this is